are the candidates? Who are the expected candidates to emerge in these three political parties in Edo State?
Okay, I don't mind you being so categorical in terms of PDP, APC, and Labour, but I like us to also consider the other political parties. I'll come to that because, like I would like to say, you can't rule off other people because there's a tendency. People are beginning to say, okay, through 1999 to now, we'll try PDP, we'll try Labour. We'll try PDP, we'll try APC. We've seen their strength, we've seen their behavior, we've seen the outcomes. And of course, this is the worst time for APC even to make an inroad into any place because it's just bravado and trying to say to themselves, oh, we must occupy, we must take the place. They do it because of the money and maybe the prestige, but it's not about service to the people. Otherwise, given the climate, the economic climate in Nigeria, I cannot see how you can find APC taking Edo State, despite the fact that there's a federal might. Having said that, because on two programs of mine on radio, I've had to interview prominent politicians to make up their minds and say and speak what they think is the possibility of APC doing anything in Edo State. One was the prominent APC frontrunner, or at least favored to be a likely candidate, or if not, at least he's very prominent and vigorous about taking the seat, Ise Yamu. And I even asked him on air that given the fact of the economy tanking the way it is now in Nigeria, are you telling me that it is possible for APC to even hold his ground? Of course, as a politician, he will really defend his people. But I must tell you that the situation is not particularly pleasant. And that's why you will say to yourself, does APC really have a chance in Edo State? If people are politically savvy, very conscious of what they believe is their right, can they afford to say to themselves that, oh, it's APC that they want? Because some people will tell you, oh, they want to align with the federal. Align with federal for what? How much of the revenue is coming? And all that is coming now, and it's not as beautiful as it used to be. So that is one thing on the ground. But having said that, APC currently are screening their candidates. I think there are about 12 or so or thereabout of them who are nudging and hoping that they can eventually be selected to come and confront their delegates. And that's at February 17th. That's as close as possible. PDP is hoping to do their primaries on February 22. So the primaries are very much up. But we are hoping that having now created a scenario, when they, about 2 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, it was a situation where they said, Oshomole constituted a committee that examined, the candidates who should be selected. And people were very offended. So because of that, as of yesterday, they constituted a committee that will look into the possibilities of examining the suitability of some 12 of them to see whether they can go ahead. I'm not sure that as of now, you can say, oh, rule out this one, rule out that one. I'm sure they will now present at least 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them as the agreed candidates who should now be the delegates. So we're waiting for that outcome. Until then, you can't quite say who is going to be. Although I do know that Edo North is making every effort. There's one Dr. Ernest Afolabi Umakike, who looks like a new entrant. But then, maybe because he's been a permanent secretary, just retired. But he seems to have a lot of clout and money and interest and connection. He may be able to make an inroad. There's Gideon Ikine, who crossed over from PDP into APC, who, because of his intellectual capacity, ability to convince some ideas that he has, and having almost become the candidate of PDP the last time 4 years ago, he may have some inch and inroad. Then there's Clement Agba, who was the minister of the federal government. He was a commissioner here. And who knows if they go to the north. But then people are saying, why should Edo not have it? Why should Edo not have it? And in any case, if you go to Edo South, the governor living there has just left Edo South because you know that the politics here is very ethnicized, and therefore there's a zoning tendency. And because there's a zoning tendency, the feeling is that whoever they choose should go become an ASAN person. And who knows if they take an ASAN, given what PDP is doing with an ASAN front runner, then it will be just battle royale. That is the home run. Everybody on the home turf fighting. So APC, Edo Central, PDP, Edo Central. So that may be the kind of fight that will produce something. What it will be, I can't tell you. But I know Edo Central would rather say whoever they want to be in government, whether it is APC or it is PDP. So therefore, they're looking forward to somebody who may emerge as an APC candidate in APC. They're coming to PDP.
Now, don't you think that APC will nominate from Edo Central to distract Aswa Ighodalo, something like that?
Which would be a good an excellent strategy, an excellent political strategy. So you give the man inch for inch. That means he doesn't have any advantage. And is that not smart? It will be smart. But do politicians think smartly? That's another matter. Whether that may be the outcome of that decision. But it will be interesting to see what eventually emerges. But in my conversation with Eze Yamu on my radio show 2 weeks ago, when I posed this question, that I was personally shocked that he would go and pick up a phone. And he said, well, you know, that kind of political glib talk. It doesn't think everybody has a right, anybody can come and take a form, fine, but that, you know, when they talk about marginalization, if Edo Central think it is marginalization, his place in the Union was marginalized. Edo South has not had this. Therefore, their logic is quite, it looks warped and funny, but
his local government has been marginalized in Edo State, so therefore
Orion was marginalized, and therefore they are producing more oil, and therefore they have a chance to go in. Then there is someone, there's a cocoa, you can't follow that logic. No, truly. Now you see what the logic is going. So sometimes you think this is associated.
You said earlier that politicians are not that smart. Now I believe. I agree with you. I agree with you.
So you see how their thinking is. So you must listen to them all out. And as media people, we listen to everybody out without even entering your own opinion, which is what we should be doing as media people. So in any case, I listened to him through and through. And I think he makes some sense. But then you say to yourself, we'll just finish with an Edo person. They don't seem to have a lot of chance in being governor. So why don't you give another person a sense of belonging? This is where the Edo Central thing or ASAN agenda seems to be driven. That you ought to create a sense of belonging. It's not just being a commissioner or being a minister or being a this, but having been the chief executive of the state and give to the state what you think by your own leadership qualities the state deserves. Because that's another element of analysis. People tend to forget that, yes, you can go from area to area, but every area has its own call it a competitive advantage. Edo North has its own competitive advantage. Edo Central has its own competitive advantage. Edo South, competitive advantage. So why don't you let everybody come in with their own latent capacities and express themselves at the center point of governance and be able to offer people what they can do. So we are only hoping that what PDP is doing is to say that, okay, Aswa Ighodalo, having been a member of the economic team, which may be a strategy that is very, very unique. After all, the current governor came from the economic team. Then if he chooses another economic team member, it just means that they may now begin to use it as a cooking house for those who may eventually run the state. Because if you come from the economic team, it means you are within the strategy and policy group of the state, and therefore you have the greatest knowledge of the vision and where the state should be positioned in the next future years, and therefore you are an idea man who can run the state, rather than what people are toying up and down, calling themselves homeboy, homeboy. What is homeboy? Oh, you grew up in Edo State. You've not been anywhere else other than being Edo State. So what? In fact, those who have come from even your Toronto, those who come from Germany, those who have come from the US, are also saying, look, I grew up in Edo State. The fact that I left doesn't mean that I'm not a homeboy, but I've got some ideas which I brought out from outside, just like you, Nekmo Basuki, says that someday you may want to take up the gauntlet, which is that I have something I've been doing in Toronto, I have some knowledge in being abroad, I want to bring it home and transform my place.
Of course. I'll probably be the first female governor of Edo State. Why not?
Yes.
With this wealth of experience.
Yes, now you see it. Oh, now I've kicked you in the butt. Because that is what it is, that you have something to offer. It's, so everybody has something to offer. So being a homeboy is not any particular advantage. Being a homeboy just means you drink pepper soup here, you drink beer there, you know everybody. Okay, so you know everybody. Can you belong to a group of people who are very conversant with the economic networking of Nigeria, so that you can relate to anybody in any part of Nigeria and in any part of the world? In fact, the APC guy who I'm telling you, who used to be a permanent secretary, who retired from the Minister of Agri, says he has international networking and he understands development, and that's what he wants to offer the state. And some of us are quite close to him, and can you give it to him? Somebody who's worked in international groups of development. Why can't he be the one who has something to offer Edo State? Because right now the state needs international capacity. You need international impetus. It's not a question of who knows the next door neighbor. Therefore, that is why you must be a governor. What does that define in terms of leadership? We must begin to look at leadership and begin to look at it in very, very strong, definitive terms, in terms of capacity, knowledge, ideas, network, and comparative advantage between you and other states in the federation, and move the state to belong to a group of nations. Okay, look at it. I've always advocated for something. Look at when you look at California. Everybody talks about California being a state in America, but it's about the 6th economy in the world. And people look at Lagos State as the 5th economy in Africa, and which means we're not driving our potentials in this state. And that is my theory that I've always propounded, which is that every state is an economic integral. We should develop a state to become so strong that it's like a nation. Actually, if you want to compare Benin Republic, Togo, what all these, they are not as big as any state in Nigeria. If they have embassies in a railway line, international airlines, why can a state like Edo State not be as big as any country in Africa? So we're boxing below the belt, and we're looking at who can do it, and that's why people are favoring Aswell to be the man who will blow ahead, not below the belt, but above the belt, and
we look at their antecedents and look at their capacity with their previous work ethic in Nigeria or in abroad. There are some politicians, seasoned politicians in Nigeria, who have never in their life even established pure water company.
Their antecedents, their character, their capacity. What is it that they want to give? What is their vision? What can they do? What have they done? And can they replicate this at the state level?
Exactly.
Can they even move the state beyond? Can they move the state beyond where it is? Like I was telling you, if a state in Nigeria is as big as a nation in Africa, we have no reason to be performing the way we are performing. We are just underperforming. And I don't like it. And we're looking for those who can raise us up. Coaches again takes me to the point of looking at the labor man. Since you look at these are the three front political parties. Oluwakpata, for example, he seems to be more dominant, either because he's done a few things for the wards, the local government, the party,
and a national influence. And he has the national influence.
national influence again, because he's been the NBA president. So he knows what it takes in terms of national politics, and he wants to be moving up and down. And he has a few things to offer. What it is exactly, he's not had the opportunity. I'm hoping to invite him sometime to come to my show. Let me grill him and let me understand what he has on offer for Edo State, because he's been outside of the state. He's been practicing as a law firm, in Lagos. So he ought to come home and tell us exactly what he has on offer. What can he make as a difference? And that's one of the questions, for example, I'm proposing in fact, I had to say that on international network. What exactly is Obaseki not doing that you think you will do better? And what do you think is amiss that you want to fill up and be able to move the state forward? Because sometimes everybody has this wonderful, grandiose idea. We've heard them in the last 64 years. No, everybody talks so floweringly. And you think as soon as they take up office, that's the thing that raises people's expectations. And at the end, we get so disappointed. They make it look so good. They will tie the air. They will air condition all the air space in Edo State. None of us will be hungry. Everything will just be rosy. There'll be food. There'll be this. There'll be that. There'll be road. Where is the money? Where does the money come from? Because this is a grand, important question. An impoverished citizenry that hardly can feed, is that from whom you want to draw tax? No way. So these are the issues. And when the oil is rising, we are unable to sell our oil enough and be able to have enough money on national distribution. So if there's not enough money coming from IGR, not money enough coming from the federal purse, what are you going to use in running the state? All these ideas have to be funded. They need N and K, Naira and Kobo. And that's one of the things that they have not told us. So we're only hoping that all these three front runners will have something to offer. But then there are a few other people from the other, call them smaller parties, who are hoping that all they want to do is position themselves in such a way that it may take few years, but people will look at them as alternatives. If you present yourself, you're not story, you don't have any bad record, you have nothing sticking on you or like other people, why won't you now be the alternative? And as at that point, the younger people are looking, and they may be the ones who may vote such people in. And that's why NNPP is making an effort. National Redemption Party is trying to, National Reform Party is trying to come up. A few more parties like that are trying to field candidates. They may not win all that, but at least they will make their presence felt. And we're looking at them being the parties of the future.
So, there's a rumor that Yamo has a certain rift with Oshomole. Are they trying to settle the rift between themselves?
Yes, I've heard that rumor. But of course, he will deny it in the public space. And he has done that because he believes that it's not, politicians never want to watch their dirty linens in the public, if at all. So it means that it's going to be that they will try and patch their differences and then be able to make sure that he can go on, because if he's calling with Oshomole, he will need Oshomole's assistance. Let's face it. So it is not going to antagonizing him, but you need to make friends. In politics, like they say, permanent interests, permanent friends, no enemies. So definitely, he's not. The rumor may or may not be substantiated.
But he said, he agreed. He agreed that they sometimes disagree and agree. That whatever is going on between whatever is going on between him and Oshomole right now will be resolved. So he agreed that there is something going on between both of them. So
is that some of the people there are providing money for the top political apparatchik. So if they're doing that, it means they're trying to create influence, and the others will not like it. Because everybody now is saying it's not about money. It's not about how much.
In APC,
it's about
in APC, sir, it's hard for us to predict who is going to emerge as the candidate. It's very difficult.
Absolutely,
But in
absolutely. No, you can
PDP,
say that.
in PDP, it's getting clearer to us now that that's why Igodaro is the front. Oh, all right, all right, all right. I thought your battery is down, sir. That is good. Thank you. Yes, sir.
The line broke.
Yeah, I wanted to round up. Yes, I wanted to round up. I thought, we have been speaking on the phone since. I thought your battery, is down. That
no, it wasn't my battery. The line just went off.
Oh.
My line came, so I decided to call you back. So if you want to wrap up, fine, no problem.
Yeah. So as we were saying, I know that you were. I don't want to cut you. Go ahead, sir. As we were saying.
Yes, I was looking at the fact that in Nigeria that we are moving towards a new era where business and politics are interfacing happily, and that is the way it ought to be. And because you need to drive the economy, or like we always say in political science, there's always a need to talk about the political economy. You can't break off the economy from politics. They are integrated, and you must find a meeting point. And therefore, if politics and economics are meeting in terms of business and politicians, then we should find a way of integrating them because it's better for society. And whoever has that background, and people like Olumide has that background. People like Aswa Ighodalo has that background.
Yes.
So it is all in the interest of the state that you have people who are coming from a business background who will take decisions not from exactly political angle, but look at it from the parameters of economy. Where does the economy stand in 20, 30 years? After Obaseki, who is leaving, had a plan for Edo State for 35 years. Where are we going? And unless you position the state for the future, then you've not led the state. It's not leading it for today, but leading it for today and tomorrow. And if, what's it called, Ighodalo has a way, haven't worked in the economic team, to position the state with the ideas that they have worked to get the state to be more robust than it is. And like I've always argued, that a state in Nigeria is as good as a country in Africa. So why don't we now drive those states to that level when it can be the fourth, the fifth, or whatever it is, as the largest economy in Nigeria or in Africa? Why don't we do that? Whoever can do that will be the kind of fellow we want as the governor in November. And the truth of the matter is that I worry that the generality of people have not even positioned themselves to understand that this is what determines governorship, not just my party, my tribe, my townsman, my colleague. No, those are not the things that you want. Who can make it and make us better? That's it.
Exactly. That's why we are measuring them based on their capacity, what they have done in the past. How many institutions have you managed in Nigeria? How many companies have you established?